Hello Internet, it's Trevor again with some compulsive hoarding going on. I bought some more old tech junk. This motherboard here, and as you can see it's running. I don't really have a case to put it in right now, but it's an old G41 motherboard. This is Core 2 Duo generation. However, right here is a Pentium D930. All this setup was kind of bundled together. The RAM, the CPU, the motherboard, and a heatsink came with this as well. Although the heatsink that the guy had on it before, it's kind of a funny story. It's a big, beefy heatsink that was pretty much as tall as the motherboard is tall, lengthwise. And it looked, I inspected it closer, and it was warping the motherboard, like, because there's no backplate behind the CPU. So the motherboard was actually warped from the weight of the heatsink, or just from the heatsink, because it was also just screwed in. It was just screwed in. There's no washers, no supports, or anything like that. So it's just screwed, and it was just pulling the motherboard up around the sides of the CPU. So it was actually warping the motherboard like that. And so the first thing I did was I took that heatsink off, and it's in the garage right now. I'll have to show it in a separate video if I get the chance, because it is kind of an interesting heatsink. But yeah, this whole setup was included together. And this heatsink here, I just tore out of this Sony Vaio Pentium 4 computer that I had lying around. See, there's the where it would go right there. And I just slapped it on there. It's not secured at all. It's just kind of floating on top of the actual CPU there. And it's just enough to keep it cool. And as you can see, it's running up to this Windows 7 desktop just fine. It's actually running a hard drive that I stole from this ThinkPad. I don't know if you guys know, but Windows 7 tends to be a bit finicky when you're just swapping the hard drive out to different machines and then trying to boot it into Windows. I believe if you stay within the same generation of computing, it tends to work fairly well for the most part, and that's what I did, because this is sort of Core 2 Duo, Pentium D era. This is a Core 2 Duo machine right here, so I just kind of took the hard drive out of there, and then it's right there. It's running with a SATA harness all the way up to here, and plugged into the power supply, and plugged into the motherboard right here in this SATA port right there. So I think I could find some good use for this motherboard, because it actually takes DDR3. This is actually mostly what I was interested in, is that this RAM right here, this is 8 gigs of DDR3. That's actually quite good, even by today's standards, or at least just in the context of this sort of hardware right here. And then I've got, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, an IDE. That's an IDE port right there. So I can actually plug in older hard drives. And then it's got a full 16x PCIe Express slot, 1x, and then 2 PCI. So this is actually a pretty cool little MATX motherboard here that I can actually find some good use for. Maybe. Or just cram it in an old retro machine or a sleeper unit like this. By the way, this is the old retro machine. You're probably thinking to yourself, why didn't you just put the motherboard in that case? Because you've got a case right here, and just swap out the innards. No, I'm going to leave this for now, because I kind of don't want to mess with it. I'm going to toy with it later. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys in this video, and let you know that my compulsive hoarding habits are still in full swing, and will not be stopping soon. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions about the hardware, just, I guess you can comment or message me or whatever. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.